Hi, Miss Kadri. My name is Pratikshya, and I go to Riverside Secondary School. I know that you taught some of my friends, like Arwa and Jonas and Jack. Um, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. Um, this is obviously my IOA, and my IOA is going to be focusing on applying one literary theory to three different types of text. The literary theory that I chose to do this analysis on is the feminist theory, and this theory explores like gender roles and character archetypes in female literature, but not just like female literature, just any literature in general. The three texts that I'm choosing to relate to the feminist theory is The Paperback Princess by Robert Munch, The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin, and Girl by Jamaica Kincaid. And I chose these three different texts because of their really strong characters and archetypes that they show, but also the kind of lessons they teach us and the views on how society views women and the expectations they have upon us. But also there's one story in particular in those three that combat the stereotypes that are presented to women by society, and I feel like it totally flips the switch on how the feminist theory can, instead of being used to show the inferior side of women and the belittling side of women, into empowering them and showing that they too can beat the patriarchal dominance. They can be that instead of being inferior to it. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Okay, so the first text that I'm choosing to analyze is Girl by Jamaica Kincaid, and I chose this story because I feel like just the whole text in itself are basically like unspoken but blatantly said rules of society that they have implicated on women. And the whole story in itself, it sounds like a mother, like talking to a daughter, not just a child, on how to behave in public, how to behave towards men, how to behave in certain situations, and I guess like dictating how they're supposed to be acting. To me also, it sounds like society is trying to talk through the mother's voice, like the mother's voice is acting like society, because like being little children, you're obviously going to listen to your mom, and what she says is right. So it just sounds like a big lecture on how girls should act. There's this one quote in the book that says, in the story, that says, "On Sundays, try to walk like a lady and not like the slut you are bent on becoming." And I feel like that's really harsh policing, especially, I'm guessing, on a little girl, because how can you walk like a slut? Like, let's be so serious. And I feel like just like the harsh language, like comparing lady and slut, like when you think of lady, you think of delicate little flower baby angel, and when you think of slut, you think of like, it's just a really harsh and like vigorous word to use, especially when talking to somebody so young. I also wanted to make note on the title of the book itself. Well, not book, but the title of the story. The title of the story is Girl, and I think to me it's so strange how it's girl and not woman or female or anything, because these are all things that are applied to us or said to us while we are young, and I feel like that is such a harsh mindset to put on a younger girl. Imagine saying that to yourself when you were younger. You'd be like, what the heck am I saying? So I feel like just being told all of those things at such a young age can really compromise how your mindset is. And I feel like it's a really conservative and toxic mindset to have. And in such an impressionable age too, and anything can go in the mind and it just stays there. So I feel like it being such a harsh way of showing people how to act, and especially girls, trying to dictate their behavior and how they talk and what they say in front of certain people. I feel like this story does a really good job in what society expects us to do, and it gets passed down through generation, because you wouldn't be saying that to somebody if you haven't been told that yourself. So I feel like Jamaica Kincaid does a really good job in collecting all of the hurtful things that are said about women and how they should act in public, and putting it all on paper. And it really makes you think, like, wow, like, these are things that have been said centuries through centuries. Like, it's non-stop. So I feel like Jamaica Kincaid did a really, really good job in showing us how harsh society can actually be to women. So this text shows I feel it shows the really, like, inferior part of being women, but the next text that I'm going to be analyzing is going to totally flip the stereotype and totally disabandon the patriarchal dominance that we usually see in text. So the next text that I'm going to be analyzing is going to be The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munsch. I think The Paper Bag Princess, like I said, totally flips the whole stereotype in women being like the damsel in distress, because this story is about a princess. Obviously, when you think of princess, you think of pretty pink baby angel bows and all that, tiara. Like, that's what you think when you think of princess. So when you see paper bag princess, you think, oh, why is a princess wearing a paper bag? But anyways, we'll get into that. But the paper bag princess is about a princess trying to defeat a dragon in order to save her soon-to-be husband. I think that this text is proof that young girls can do literally anything. Like, she defeated a dragon. Okay, I feel like it shows how clever girls can be when they put their mind to things. Not even when they put their mind to things, it's just blatantly out there. But I also feel like it shows character, and how character is more important than how you look. Because she is doing all of this for a man while wearing a paper bag. And I just feel like it shows how much loyalty she has towards him, only because when you go out in public, you obviously want to be like, oh, like, I want to look nice, but she's choosing loyalty over appearance because that's the type of character she is. And the whole theme of this story is about character over appearance, because in the text it says, "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince, but you are a bum," which shows that even if you look nice and even though you appear better looking, if you are a bum, that's on you. And you just automatically become unattractive. And I feel like another stereotype where this, like, it combats the stereotype is women in stressful situations, because women in stressful situations is depicted as like, oh, like, they're gonna overreact, they're gonna ruin the situation, they're gonna make it worse. But it shows that even in stressful situations, like someone taking a close person to you hostage, you can still maintain control, you can still stay calm and work your way through together. And I also like the fact that Robert Munsch, who is a really popular children's storybook, I remember reading his stories in grade 3. So I feel like this being told or published as a children's book, it like applies a really strong mindset to younger girls, showing that, oh, I don't have to look pretty or look nice or appear nice if I'm a good person, because I know that I'm a good person and I know that I'm not going to associate myself with a bum. So I guess like she's released, and I feel like it also flips the archetype, because usually it's the man saving the woman, but this time it's the woman saving the man, which I feels like it plays the archetype as the knight in shining armor, but I guess this time it's a knight in a paper bag. But she is now free from what was doomed to become a really toxic masculinity type deal. And she's free now from the situation that she was going to put herself in if she went through with a marriage. Which also brings me to another character that felt free even for a little tiny bit. And that's going to be our next story, The Story of an Hour. So the next story is The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin. And I feel like we get this really powerful view on what it means to, like, I guess, be a woman trapped inside of a marriage. So we find out in like in the story that her husband dies in like a freak train accident or something. And of course, like, she feels sad and she feels despaired, but after like sulking in grief for so long, like, this feeling of guilt creeps upon her, and she realizes that, wow, excuse me, I'm free. And I feel like that is really like prevalent in the story, because this is directly quoted from the story. It says, she said it over and over under her breath, free, free, free. And there's another quote that says, free, body and soul free. So, as you can tell, she's very excited that she does not have a husband anymore, and she feels more autonomy of herself. She feels like she finally gained a part of herself back after she lost it. And I feel like it also goes to show that even people in a good marriage, because it also said that he was a kind and loving man, it like, I feel like it also gives us proof that being in a good marriage, it ultimately comes with a sacrifice to women, and it's sacrificing their independence and their autonomy and how they want to live. So I feel like after his death, she realized that she is her own person and she can do what she wants to, and that's why she was so happy that he died. And I also like her excitement was like crazy. Like, she was really hyped. And I feel like it defeats like the normal expectation of, I guess, getting married, because in a lot of cultures it's also, oh, girls have to get married, like, you have to be at least 25 to get married. That's what I know about my culture, that marriage is really stressed upon, and if you're not married by like 30, it's like nobody wants you. So I feel like this being that, oh, she feels free, I feel like that pressure was definitely put upon her, that she didn't want to belong to that man. And I realized in the story that it said Mrs. Mallard at the beginning, and then it ultimately went to she. So Louise, she is now her own person. She doesn't belong to Bentley Mallard anymore. Like, she's just now Louise. And I feel like having that part of yourself back, which you gave away to somebody unwillingly, or maybe you wanted to, but you didn't expect the outcome to be as, I guess, like, as jailed, I guess. It just, like, brought back a part of her, which she lost. And we also realized that at the end of the story, he's not dead, he comes back, but ultimately she died of a heart disease, and the doctor said she died of a heart disease, it's the joy that kills. And I didn't see her death as, like, real. I saw her death as, like, symbolic. I was like, oh, she died, but she was happy. So I'm like, the relationship's dead. The feeling of the trapness a word? The feeling of her feeling so constricted in a relationship, that feeling's dead. The old her is dead, and now this new her is so much more happy, and she's living for herself instead of living for somebody else, making the decisions for herself instead of somebody else deciding things for her. Which I feel like this also teaches that you don't need somebody else to make you feel like you're somebody. I feel like as long as you have yourself, as long as you feel like you're not being controlled or dictated upon, everything is fine.